Hello, I'm not Chuck. It doesn't seem possible that it has been 5 months since I created the first video about the solar charger and power supply for my future weather station, but it has. In all fairness, a lot has been going on in my life, but that's not really a good excuse. We all have a lot going on and competing for our attention, so I apologize for neglecting you gals and guys. That first video provided a lot of background information about the design, so I'll include a link up in the top corner to that earlier episode. I had to re-watch it before I made this video because I didn't remember all the details, of which there were a lot. Maybe you want to take a look at it before watching this one. In part 1, I described the overall objectives of the solar charger and power supply and showed the components I selected to use. I talked about the modification I had to make to the MPPT solar controller in order to optimize it for use with my 10-watt, 12-volt solar panel. One thing I didn't do was show the schematic diagram of the circuit, so I'll do that now. I drew the circuit in dip trace, and as you can see, it's not very complicated. After all, most of the heavy lifting is done inside the 3 modules that I bought from China over the internet. The CN3795 MPPT solar controller and the 2 AMS 1117 linear regulator modules, one for 3.3 volts and one for 5 volts. I also cobbled the circuit together using a solderless breadboard. It worked despite that ugly yellow background and the fact that none of the modules are breadboard friendly. That got me to thinking about what I was going to do when it was time to build it for real. And of course the answer is to design a printed circuit board. Here's the PCB layout which I created in dip trace. The screenshot you are seeing is greatly enlarged. The actual board is a little over 2 inches wide and a little under 2 inches tall. The outline of the board is shown in red, and there are 4 mounting holes, one at each rounded corner. The violet-colored lines on the board represent the copper traces. They are simple to follow and make it easy to understand the circuit. The PCB has places for all the parts to be mounted on the top side, and as you see, there aren't many of them. The larger module in the center is the CN3795 charge controller and battery charger. The smaller module to the left is the AMS 1117 5-volt linear regulator, and the one to the right is the 3.3-volt linear regulator. Just to the right of that is a place for connection of all the ins and outs from the board. They are labeled right on the PCB. Just above the connector area is the only individual electronic component on the board. It's a Schottky diode and prevents current from flowing to the solar panel and discharging the batteries when the sun isn't visible. The positive lead from the solar panel is to be connected to the top pin labeled SOLR. From there it goes to the anode of D1 and out the cathode to one of the pins on pin header 2. A removable shunt connects the pins of PH2 together, and from there to the input of the 3795 module. Its output is labeled BAT and is connected to the inputs of both AMS 1117 modules and to one side of pin header 1. Another removable shunt connects the pins of PH1 together, and from there to the connector pin labeled plus BAT, which goes to the external 18650 batteries. The 3.3 volt output from LR1 goes to the third pin from the top. But what about LR2? How does the 5 volt output get to its pin on the connector? Well, for that we have to take a look at the bottom of the printed circuit board. At first glance, the bottom looks like everything is connected together, and it almost is. All the grounds on the 3 modules are common and are connected to the cross-hatched copper ground plane. But there is one trace that is not connected to the common, and it is now shown in blue. Of course, this is the path from the output of the 5-volt linear regulator to the plus 5-volt pin on the right side of the board. I'll hide the ground plane and show you just the individual traces. You might be wondering why all the writing on the bottom of the board is backwards. Of course, that's because this view is as if the PCB was transparent. I'll flip the board and show you the way it looks when viewed from the bottom. Now I'll add back the common ground plane. That's the bottom, and here's the top again. And that's about all I have to say about the PCB layout. I described how each of the modules work in part 1, and I'll put a link in the description to that video. And here's the actual PCB that was created from my design. It looks great, both front and rear, and it was made by Next PCB. I'll solder the parts in place and show you how that looks. While I'm doing that, please watch this short message about Next PCB. Next PCB is offering totally free prototype PCBs. You can pay $0 for 1 to 4 layer boards. Click the Instant Quote button to get started. Upload your zipped Gerber files to Next PCB. Your design specs will be automatically entered. Choose whether you want 5 or 10 pieces. Your board cost is $0. Use the Next PCB Gerber viewer to check your board. If you're a new customer, you can get a $100 coupon. Next PCB sells 4-layer PCBs with up to 40% off. Check the link in the video description below for all the deals at Next PCB. Here's the board with all of the soldering done. From left to right, you can see that I have installed female headers for the 3 modules, 2 pin headers for the battery and solar panel disconnect shunts, diode D1, and a column of 8 right-angle pins for all the board ins and outs. I'll install the modules. First is the 5-volt regulator, then the solar charge controller, and then the 3.3-volt regulator. Next, I'll slide on the 2 shunts, a red one for the battery disconnect and a yellow one for the solar panel disconnect. I chose to use a right-angle pin header for the board IOs because right-angle pins are inexpensive and easy to use. I put the header on the bottom of the board in order to maintain visibility of the pin IDs on the top of the board, even when the DuPont wire connectors are installed. Of course, there are alternatives. You could simply solder wires directly to the PCB pads, or you could use vertical pin headers on the top of the board. And Onshore Technology makes a great connector that will accept wire sizes from 30 up to 18 gauge, but the connectors are not cheap. In the next part, I'll demonstrate the adjustment and operation of the complete assembly. This block diagram will be a good precursor to a step-by-step setup of the solar charge controller and power supply. The green blocks are each part of the system. The ones inside the green square are located on the printed circuit board. The white block on the left is not a permanent part of the system. It's an adjustable buck power regulator that takes the place of the solar panel for test and setup purposes. The input to the buck regulator is 13.8 volts DC and comes from a 5 amp linear power supply that I sometimes use to power small 2-way radios and similar devices. It is well regulated and filtered, but its output is not variable. As you probably know, the voltage output from a solar panel varies in response to the amount of light that falls on its cells. The variation can range from 0 volts up to 18 volts or more. So to test the charge controller and power supply assembly, I need to be able to vary the input to the CN3795 controller. Its output is dependent on the input set point, which is determined by a voltage divider. I covered that in detail in part 1 of this series. This CN3795 controller is set so there is no voltage out until the input is approximately 12 volts. Here's the actual test setup. First, I will check the voltage into the buck converter. As you can see, it is 13.8 volts. The next step is to adjust the buck regulator so that 12 volts is the input to the CN3795. I can read that voltage on the cathode of D1 as I adjust the output of the buck regulator by turning its potentiometer. Notice that when the input voltage is below 11.9 or so, the LEDs on the AMS 1117 regulators go off, indicating that the output of the CN3795 has gone to zero. That's exactly what I want. Now I want to adjust the output voltage of the CN3795. For proper charging of the two 18650 batteries in series, the optimum voltage is 8.4. I turn the potentiometer on the CN3795 board to set its output. And last, I'll take a look at the output of the two AMS 1117 regulator boards. They aren't adjustable, but I want to confirm they are close to their ratings. First, the 3.3 volt unit. It's at 3.33, close enough. And then the 5 volt unit. It's good at 5.03 volts. Now I can plug in the battery pack, check the voltage again, and confirm that it is somewhere between 7.4 and 8.4 volts. And it is 8.15 volts, just about where I'd hoped. It's important that these particular battery cells are equipped with built-in BMS to avoid any danger of them being over or undercharged. That's it for today. Please like the video, comment on it, and subscribe to my channel. And there is one other thing to remember. I'm not Chuck.